So I was telling you about what happened to my carpet. There's this melted spot, right?
Yeah.
Check it. I had a flood. I come out, get ready to work for work. This was when I was working over at EMT, and I had to be to work at noon. So I was, getting ready to. It was about 10 in the morning, and I'm going out into the kitchen. And I'm like half dressed for work. And I noticed this dripping right there in the archway going into the kitchen. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. And it's not real bad. I'm not freaking out yet. I finished what I was doing in the dining room, and I go out, and I'm going to turn around the corner into the kitchen to grab a pan to put underneath the dripping to catch it. And as I do this, I sweep, and as my eyes take in the panorama of the kitchen, I just see water coming in everywhere, around all the walls, just pouring down through the cabinet, coming out of the cabinets, coming out of the walls behind the cabinets, everywhere, and I'm just, my jaw drops. I'm like, I'm in shock. I call my supervisor and I tell him, sir, I really, I describe what's going on. I'm like, and I really don't think I can make it in today. It would be all right if I stay home and I take care of this? And he says, fine, Ski, do what you got to do. So, obviously. And the next phone call I make is to the maintenance department of the apartment building, the property managers, tell them what's going on. And then after that, I spend time calling my friends as I'm moving pots around, saying, please come help me. If you have the day off, and you get this call, please come help me. Because this flood is it's pouring in from dozens of spots, and I'm freaking out. Was it work? So, it was just me, and we didn't have, the kid then. But, I was just, the place was falling apart. And, I get things under control after a while. I didn't call her until I had things under control. Eventually, they come in, they shut off the water. Turns out, this was a really bad, cold night. Upstairs neighbors' back door blew open. Their pipe it got so cold in their kitchen that the pipe under their sink froze in the night. In the morning, people started running hot water through the building, and that pipe exploded right above our kitchen. That's what actually happened. And during the worst of it, there's about 6 inches between those ceiling tiles that you can actually see and the original ceiling, which is actually kind of pretty. I'll show it to you sometime. And 1920s style, but 6 inches, and that space was filled with water. Now look how big the dining room is. That whole space, and 6 inches deep of water. And where that light fixture is now was originally a ceiling fan, and the space just over from it, closer to us, started bulging out like a pimple, and then all of a sudden it split in half right down the middle and exploded. And the dining room table at that point in time was more in the middle of the room and a little closer this way, right under it. And it was like the fist of God, made of water, just punched through the ceiling of my apartment and punched my dining room table as hard as it could. And it was exploding. I was standing right there in the doorway into the hallway, and I'm looking out, and I see this happen, and just water explodes everywhere. And I'm in shock, right? So, now at this point, being a technical man by training, I have already shut off all the power in that half of the apartment. Actually, I think at that point I'd shut off all the power in the apartment at the switch box just to be safe. And contractors come over to repair the damage, to do what they can. Excuse me. And they go to turn the power on, and I'm like, I wouldn't do that. There's still a lot of water up there. That ceiling fan is really wet. I wouldn't do that. And the guy's, says to me, well, I'm an electrician. I know what's going on, and it'll be fine. I understand your worry, but he's kind of patronizing me. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't realize that that I'm also an electrician. But albeit one that works on. So maybe I don't know as much as a fancy, local electrical contractor, but I do what I can. But he doesn't realize that. And on the other hand, though, I'm thinking, well, this guy does this kind of thing every day. He probably knows. Oh, whatever. Defer to his judgment. As soon as he hits the power, flames start shooting out of the ceiling fan. I shit you not. Like 4-inch jet-like flames are shooting out the top of it, kind of like the part that faces the ceiling of the motor compartment, are shooting up toward the ceiling. And, bits of melted plastic wire start spurting out. And they go all over. Now, most of the area of carpet over there is fucking soaked from that Fist of God punch I mentioned earlier. So most of it doesn't do any damage, it just fizzles. But there's this one spot that's kind of dry. It gets hit by a big chunk of molten insulation. And it just crisps the carpet fibers. And you can see it later before you leave. It's right in front of the desk. It's just this rough spot where the carpet is melted. And if they try to make me pay for that when I move out, no. I'm going to tell them what happened. You're not. I don't care how you pay for that, but I'm not. Not going to happen.
All right.
Yeah, and then Nick. You guys know Nick?
Yeah.
He came down after he realized what was going on. And the contractors told him the pipe burst in his kitchen. And so he comes down, and this is at about 2:30 in the afternoon. And I've got things under control by this point. I started washing off all the canned food, taking all the food out, because, it was rusty water all over the place. The food had to be cleaned or thrown out as needed. We actually didn't lose very much food. We lost a lot of food packaging. But most of the food was, we lost all of our oatmeal. We lost all of our spaghetti noodles. But we didn't lose very much else. But anyway, he came down. He felt so bad. I wasn't even mad at that point, because at that point, the worst was over. I'd gotten an adventure out of it, and I'd gotten a day off of work. So we went over to Ebenezer's and had a couple beers, and he paid, which he would under the circumstances. It was a nice day. Actually, it was a good day.
Cool, dude.
Yeah.
Weird. That's a pretty cool story, though.
I think so too.